For 22 years my wife had one rule that never changed: never come to my garden. She never raised her voice. She never argued. She would simply smile, kiss my forehead, and say one sentence: "One day you will understand." I respected her wish because love sometimes means trusting what you cannot explain. Then she passed away. The funeral ended. The flowers faded. The house became painfully quiet. Just when I thought the hardest part was over, her lawyer called me with an envelope and a single iron key. He looked me in the eyes and said, "Your wife left very clear instructions. This key belongs only to you. Do not sell the property until you have walked every inch of it." I thought she was talking about the small garden behind an old farmhouse in California. I had no idea she secretly owned 45 acres of land. I had no idea there was a massive vineyard hidden behind locked gates. And I definitely had no idea that inside the stone estate was a room containing hundreds of handwritten journals with my name on every single shelf. What I discovered there completely changed everything I believed about my wife and about the life we shared. Stay until the end because every answer only leads to an even bigger secret. Sign a few papers and list the property for sale. Money meant nothing after losing the woman who had been my best friend for more than 2 decades. I simply wanted closure. The address led me down a quiet country road lined with ancient oak trees and vineyards stretching across rolling hills. Eventually, I reached a tall iron gate covered with climbing roses. My wife's family name was engraved into the metal. The key turned smoothly. As the gates slowly opened, I stood frozen. Before me stretched 45 acres of perfectly maintained vineyards. Long rows of healthy grapevines covered the hills while the afternoon sun painted everything gold. In the distance stood a beautiful stone manor that looked more like a fortress than a farmhouse. Nothing about this place matched the story I had believed for 22 years. I had always assumed my wife rented a tiny gardening space to relax on weekends. Instead, she had quietly built something extraordinary. The caretaker greeted me before I even reached the house. He smiled gently and said, "We have been waiting for you." Those words sent chills through my body. Inside the manor, everything remained exactly as she had left it. Fresh flowers decorated the dining table. Family photographs filled the walls. The kitchen still held handwritten recipes. Then the caretaker unlocked a wooden library. Every shelf contained journals. Every journal was written by my wife. Each year had its own collection. The earliest entries described a young woman determined to build a vineyard after losing both of her parents. Banks refused to help. Friends doubted her. She worked every possible job, saved every dollar, planted every vine herself, and slowly transformed empty land into one of the region's most respected boutique vineyards. Then I reached the journals written after we met. Every page made me stop and breathe. She had written about our first date. She described our wedding day. She recorded every birthday. She celebrated every small victory we experienced together. But one question remained. Why hide all of this from me? Near the final journal, I found a sealed letter. It simply read, "Read this after you understand what this land represents." I continued exploring before opening it. The wine cellar beneath the house contained thousands of carefully stored bottles. Many carried labels with years that matched important moments in our marriage. The harvest from our wedding year. The harvest from the year we bought our first home. The harvest from the year our daughter graduated. She had quietly turned our memories into something that would outlive both of us. In another room, I found hundreds of framed letters from families who had worked on the vineyard for generations. She had paid medical bills for employees whose children became sick. She funded college scholarships without attaching her name. She helped struggling farmers survive difficult seasons. Almost nobody knew where the money came from. To them, she was simply a quiet woman who cared deeply about people. The caretaker explained that she insisted every act of kindness remain anonymous. She believed generosity became more meaningful when nobody expected recognition. Finally, I opened the last letter. She wrote that she never allowed me to visit because she wanted one place in the world where she could quietly prepare a future for us without distractions. She feared that if I saw how valuable the property had become, I would convince her to sell it and enjoy the money immediately. She knew I loved simple living. She wanted the vineyard to become something much bigger than wealth. She wanted it to become hope. The final paragraph changed everything. She asked me not to sell the land. Instead, she wanted the vineyard to continue funding scholarships, helping farming families, and preserving the traditions she spent her life protecting. She ended with one sentence: "If you are reading this, it means I am gone. But every vine you see still carries my fingerprints. Please let them continue telling our story." I sat alone for hours looking across the hills. For the first time since losing her, I smiled through tears. Weeks later, I canceled every meeting with potential buyers. Instead, I met the employees. I learned every corner of the vineyard. I studied everything she had built. Together, we expanded the scholarship program. We restored older sections of the property. We invited local schools to visit and learn about agriculture, conservation, and responsible farming. Every harvest season became a celebration of the woman who believed kindness should grow quietly like a vineyard. People often ask whether I regret not selling the estate. My answer is always the same. Money disappears. A meaningful legacy continues growing long after we are gone. Whenever I walk through those vineyards at sunset, I remember the promise she asked me to keep. Now the secret belongs to me, and every season I make sure it belongs to the next generation too. Sometimes the greatest inheritance is not money, it is purpose. My wife spent her life building something she hoped would continue helping people long after she was gone. I almost sold it without ever knowing its true value. If this story reminded you that love can leave behind a legacy greater than wealth, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone you love, and leave a comment telling us what legacy you hope to leave behind.